XRP might not be the only option for solving this liquidity crisis, but in today's update, I want to break down why I think it's our best option and how stablecoins on the XRP ledger with XRP as a bridge currency was probably the plan all along, and why it's the perfect solution for the crisis we face today. And we have some shocking numbers that just came in under the radar. They aren't putting this in the main headlines that you're seeing on the Wall Street Journal and other publications. And this data is the data that you need to understand just how big of a crisis we have reached already and why we're at the tipping point where intervention and panic starts to come in for not just President Trump and our Federal Reserve, but for the Bank of Japan as well as many other central banks and governments around the world. So we got an update on war, the liquidity crisis, and why XRP is the best solution to said liquidity crisis. Probably actually could help us prevent some wars in the future as well too. Having a neutral reserve currency instead of a reserve currency backed by the end of a barrel of a gun like the US dollar might be an option we could consider. We have officially reached 1 month into the Iran war with no signs of de-escalation. Former National Security Advisor of Pakistan warns that if no off-ramp is found within the next week, history will write of this Middle East conflict as World War III. Very soon, it will resemble a global conflict in terms of the number of countries involved, the intensity of violence, and the spread of its absolutely catastrophic consequences. Those who can must prevent this from happening. I've been getting some pushback for calling this World War III. That's fine. I understand that maybe we're not at that level yet, but we're trying to see where the puck's going. Not where it's at right now, where it's going. That's my job, to share my analysis on markets, on current events, and where we see this going. And right now, we might not be ready to call it officially World War III, but I think when we look back at the history book, which will be written by the victor, by the way, you guys know that, when we look back in history at this moment, we probably will be considering this time right now the beginning phases of a broader World War III conflict. But that's neither here nor there on what we call it. We just got to face what's taking place right now. And what we have here is the Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister of Pakistan saying he's pleased to share a great news that the government of Iran has agreed to allow 20 more ships under the Pakistani flag to pass through the Strait of Hormuz. 2 ships will cross the strait daily. This is a welcome and constructive gesture by Iran and deserves appreciation. It is a harbinger of peace and will help usher stability in the region. So we're starting to see that line in the sand drawn where some allies of Iran are starting to get some, preferential treatment crossing through the strait. We're starting to see some gold is being sold off to pay for oil. And I was talking about that in this morning's Discord weekly call. The fact that gold is being sold off and used to pay for oil is just a testament to the fundamentals of gold, and gold proving once again that it's playing its role as a reserve currency. And in a time of crisis, it is still available and ready to be used. And in this case, for oil, which, once again, when it comes to the reserve currency status that the United States has maintained, it goes back to that petrodollar standard that we established in the 70s and how that's being undone right before us. That's what this is all about. Now, before we continue on into the escalations that we've seen over the past 24 hours, I know that this is a lot, but right now we have to remember to focus on what we can control. And I've been making some moves myself, setting things up, and I wanted to let you know our sponsor, I Trust Capital, can help you set some things up in regards to holding precious metals or digital assets within your retirement account. So if you have a 401k, you're looking to roll that over into an IRA that can invest in precious metals or digital assets, I Trust Capital has you covered. And they also just rolled out this premium custody treasury account as well for your business. So you have an LLC, some sort of entity for your business or to hold digital assets. You can set up this treasury account today for free institutional grade custody. All of their accounts, the IRA, the premium custody, and the treasury, all give you free institutional grade custody. And when you use my link down below, you'll get a $100 funding bonus. Now, the escalations in this war, I think, are about to bring us some incredible buying opportunities. I got my orders placed. I would consider getting those done because the escalation is here now. water reservoir of Iran's southwestern town of Haftikal, targeted in U.S.-Israeli air attack, local officials tell state news agency IRNA. Another water reservoir under attack. This is the escalation that I was worried about. This is what brings in the climax of this conflict potentially. And so after we just hit the 1 month mark, no signs of de-escalation, and to open up the Strait of Hormuz, we can't just have two Pakistani ships moving through. That's not going to be enough. There's other measures that are being taken, but we got to get the strait open back up for everybody, or we have a serious problem. Now, we have this escalation that took place today. We also see that the Houthis in Yemen have now joined the war. Ballistic missile fired from Yemen at southern Israel, intercepted over Beersheba. First attack from Yemen in this conflict. So as the time has gone on here, we got more players joining the battlefield, and this conflict is spreading and growing. This is no signs of de-escalation right now. Now, the reason why this point is interesting in particular is because that Saudi Arabia just started to open up and really get it flowing. Their pipeline has reached full capacity at 7 million barrels per day as the Strait of Hormuz remains shut. With the Houthis now entering the war, the concern for oil markets is that the Red Sea becomes the new front. So actually there's a map right here. This is interesting. Strait of Hormuz right up here is closed off, right? So they got this pipeline in Saudi Arabia that goes from the Persian Gulf over here to the Red Sea, and then you can flow it, but you got to get by Yemen, and you got to get by the Houthis. And now that the Houthis are officially in the war, the market and everybody's kind of looking at this like, oh, hey, we got something, we got a solution here. Strait of Hormuz, gonna take some effort to open that back up. In the meantime, Saudi Arabia gets it flowing at capacity. That's great. And then the Houthis enter the war. And that's going to choke off exiting the Red Sea. And that's that other strait that the Houthis could be shutting off there. Okay? Now, on the United States front, we just keep on sending more equipment, more troops, more aircraft, more ships, and we're ready to rock and roll. I'm telling you right now that the climax, the next move from President Trump, our commander-in-chief, is coming, and it's going to be a heavy one. The USS Tripoli just pulled into CENTCOM with 3,500 sailors and Marines rushed from Pacific exercises. We got F-35 stealth fighters, Ospreys, attack helicopters, amphibious assault vehicles. This is built for coastal strikes and landings. This is for when the peace talks don't work. We're about to hit them like we haven't hit them yet in this conflict so far. The climax is coming. And with that will be the new lows, at least double testing the lows that we've already set in the crypto space to start off 2026. And so as I told my Discord group this morning, get your orders in now if you're looking to buy more. And I understand that we're tapped out. I get you guys. I'm right there with you, actually. It's tough to find money right now in this economy with how things are going, right? Not everybody has the ability to be allocating and continue buying the dip. I get that. And that's why we try to be strategic. When we pumped at the beginning of the week for the last 3-4 weeks that this war has been going on, I've been calling BS. I've been calling bull trap rally. I didn't FOMO buy into $1.50 or $1.60 over the past month while this war was going on. Because I said it was a fake out bull trap rally, wouldn't last. We haven't opened up the Strait of Hormuz, which means we haven't seen the climax of this war. Which means we need to escalate further. Job's not finished. And that means the correction's not finished. And so I do that in an effort knowing that we don't have endless money. And so we got to try to time these, and put in some effort. We don't try to time it to the day, the hour, and the exact price perfectly. We just try to get ourselves within a range so that we can dollar cost average in towards the bottom. But here's where we're looking at this liquidity crisis and the role that XRP could play. Right now, we just closed off the week with the US dollar versus Japanese yen pairing back up to that panic level where the Bank of Japan likes to intervene at, which is 160. US dollar versus Japanese yen. Take a look at it. The last time that we got up to this level was back here at the end of July 2024, and that was when the reverse carry trade started to unwind rapidly, and the Bank of Japan had to intervene. We are back up there again. Now, we're looking at oil and where the WTI closed off the week at. Once again, sold off at the start of the week while the stock market and crypto pumped like the war was over. Oil comes back down like the war is over. That was a trap. And now we're realizing, oh, wait, this isn't done. This is still escalating. Oil closes off the week above $101 per barrel, and the Brent is now up at $105 per barrel. No signs of slowing down. And here's where the trouble comes. For the United States of America and President Trump, we can't have it. We cannot be up here at 4.5% on our 10-year. That means 7% interest rates on our mortgages. That means a lot higher than that on other forms of debt and credit, that Americans need to survive. Right now, we're surviving on credit cards. We're surviving on buy now, pay later. We're using buy now, pay later for our Chipotle burrito, which I make no joke about because it's serious. That's where we're at. If you told people that 5-10 years ago that people would be using buy now, pay later for a burrito, they'd say, what are you talking about? What went wrong? But that's where we're at. And that's why President Trump can't have the 10-year up this high. And neither, and the problem is too, is over with the Bank of Japan and what's happening with their 10-year. So we take a look. This is the highest level ever for the 10-year in Japan. Back up to the same level that we went to at the start of this year. This is all-time high territory on the 10-year for Japan. Now, what Japan is trying to do is to allow the carry trade to unwind gracefully because they know it's going to hurt them. They know it's going to hurt United States. And we're allies. We're working together. We just saw the Prime Minister in the United States of America meeting with President Trump. We're working hand in hand. Our central bank is working with their central bank. The problem is they only have so many levers that they can pull at these central banks. They can they can reside in the biggest ivory towers and have the nicest purple tie, but Jerome Powell still only has a couple levers that he can move. And one that's being overlooked, I haven't seen many people cover this yet, is the fact that our Federal Reserve, the balance sheet of our T-bills has spiked. Now, we're going to be waiting to see if the Bank of Japan is going to have to do something similar. Bank of Japan hasn't had to raise rates yet because the bond market's been doing it for them. Right? See, they need rates to go to steadily increase to battle inflation and allow the carry trade to unwind gradually. And if it happens too quickly, that's a problem for their currency. It's a problem for all their imports, oil in particular, along with everything else. And this is where the Bank of Japan will panic. Well, the Federal Reserve, based off this chart, looks to me like they are panicking. Despite Powell telling us that he's not leaving his post till, a new chairman's certified there by Congress. He's not going to leave till the investigation's over. And we get the usual hemming and hawing up there at the podium from Jerome Powell. But meanwhile, we look at their balance sheet here of their T-bills. It is at a higher level than it was back in 2020. See, this is already worse than 2020. Before they've admitted that the crisis is here. Before they've admitted that there's an issue. Before they've admitted that they are panicking. Look at this chart. This is securities held outright U.S. Treasury security bills. This is the Federal Reserve's holdings of security bills. Now, these are short duration T-bills. And what you'll see is that it got up here to $326 billion after 2020. Right? So they added a bunch of these to their balance sheet, and that was all part of the liquidity, the stimulus, all of it. Now, what you look at right here is we are at a level that is $55 billion more than where we were at in 2020. Wait, I thought everything was fine. I didn't think that we had a crisis going on. And what's more so than that is the level of the increase, the rate of the increase is that of 2020 as well too. Look at this. Right? The rate of increase is substantial on this. Over 185 billion added since December. When they said, what did they say? They were going to be buying 15 to 20 billion. No, they said 40 billion per month. No. It's a little bit more than that because they've added 185 billion since the beginning of December. So, I mean, I guess they're kind of on track, but this is kind of going uncovered. This is not being noticed by many market participants. And I'm telling you right now, the fact that this is happening before we've hit the climax of this war, before we've really unwound the private credit crisis taking place in the United States, before we get any sort of panic in the reverse carry trade, we're already seeing this level higher and a bigger balance than that of 2020. And that's the thesis, is that it's going to take even more money printing, even more stimulus, even more liquidity to cover what's unwinding right now. Where does XRP play a role? We need demand for treasuries. We can't just rely on the Federal Reserve to come to the day here. We know what will happen. Inflation will tear back up to 10% and above. We'll have record prices out of control. We'll have to send out stimmy checks to people who can't afford to get by. And in fact, this can get so out of control so quickly that it actually leads to a deflationary event, which is even more dangerous than just they target a little bit of inflation. And this can lead to a spike before then a sell-off and a deflationary similar to what we got in 2022 and 2023. Right? It was the rapid inflation that peaked out in 2020, 2021, and then by 2022 and 23, it started to roll over. We still had some inflation, but the rate had declined substantially. And that rate of growth really is the silent recession that we've been talking about. So how do you soak it up? How do you soak up the demand for the T-bills? Stablecoins. See, this chart that I just showed you is for mostly, this is all short duration T-bills. Most of them are less than 3 months. These are the same 3-month T-bills that back stablecoins. So in tandem, the Federal Reserve is showing up and adding more to their balance sheet than they did during 2020. And on the other side, President Trump is trying to drive growth and demand for stablecoins, make America the crypto capital of the United States of America. What's the one missing link in all of this, though? It's a neutral bridge currency, and that's where XRP plays the role. XRP is the neutral bridge currency between the tokenized Japanese yen and the tokenized US dollar. Now, of course, other blockchains can play a role. I just think that XRP is perfectly positioned as the best option, right? The most amount of track record, security, efficiency, scalability, and it's remained neutral to the core. It is completely decentralized. And I also think that if the United States wants to, have a chance here, maybe they could get a deal done with Ripple for securing some XRP, adding it to our reserves. We've talked about that in the past as well, too. But with this whole liquidity crisis, the bonds going crazy, right? President Trump can't have that. So President Trump is about to press down on it in this war. And the way that he got the 10-year back down last year was announcing the big tariff war in April 7th of 2025. So to bring down the 10-year back then, it was the tariff war. To bring down the 10-year this time, it's going to be what we're about to do to open up the Strait of Hormuz. Meanwhile, the Federal Reserve, they're already working and adding to that balance sheet at a level higher than that of 2020. Do you see how this is all playing? All these different pieces of the puzzle? And the one missing link that puts it all together, a ledger for all of the national stable coins. Some might be central bank digital currencies, some might be stable coins. We got deposit tokens for other institutions. But in the middle of all of them, all of those countries, all of those institutions that don't trust each other, you need a neutral bridge currency, and that is XRP. I want to hear from you guys in the comments down below, though. Let me know if you have a better option. I believe that the future will be backed by gold and run on the XRP ledger for the most part. Maybe not all the money, but a significant portion of it. And I think that that's our best option. Let me know if you agree or disagree in the comments down below. And if you appreciate our updates, please help us out by liking this, sharing it out far and wide, and we will see you guys in the next one. God bless you all. I am your host, Zach Rector. I really appreciate all of the love and support. If you want to support the channel, just remember that you can start by smashing that thumbs up for me, sharing this content far and wide, and everything else is at my website.